because I had to go back and watch the EYL segment 2 times. I had to watch it 2 times to make sure I was hearing what I thought I was hearing. And then the second time I did kind of go back and reference some of the chat, and I appreciate some of the solidarity I was seeing in the chat. Because I think you guys saw, let's just say, the conversation not be what I expected. Okay. So let me say that. And so we'll go ahead and let's get started with today's conversation. We're going to start right at the very beginning, because the conversation went off the rails almost immediately. It went off the rails almost immediately, and I went into my denial phase of my 5 stages of grief. So Will, can we go ahead and get started, starting at the beginning, please?
Coming up, who stepped up to what we could, I think, lovingly call the Kim Brown Challenge, the Kim Brown Manosphere Challenge, who on the Remix Morning Show the other day said, y'all not addressing the manosphere right. Y'all don't do this right. You don't do what other people on other platforms do. So we now that was a lifetime remix, as all of this that we're about to see happen got put together. So without further ado, we can welcome folks to the stage.
Pause it for me real quick, Will. Pause it, just pause it. So let me say this. So I want to thank Jared. I want to thank Geechee. I want to thank Diallo for responding to my challenge, which it was a challenge. But to correct Brother Jared right there, I don't think I said y'all don't do it right. I think I kind of said y'all don't do it at all. Right, wrong. I think my main critique is, does it happen at all? Right. And that's where I think where we shall begin, and was kind of my point of issuing a challenge in the first place. There is no counter, or at least in my opinion, or maybe I just don't encounter it organically enough when I'm scrolling Twitter, TikTok, etc. I encounter plenty of the manosphere shit, and trust and believe, guys, I don't follow those accounts. That shit should not even be showing up in my algorithm. I do not seek out manosphere content, and yet there it is percolating. So my challenge, I thought, to the brothers was to be a counter to manosphere rhetoric, the harmful misogyny, specifically misogyn-warist rhetoric that comes from manospheric spaces, and the damage that does not only to our community as a whole, but to men and women in real time. The real time violence that men overwhelmingly perpetrate. Okay, so go ahead. So wait a minute. Before I even tell you to start, Will, let me tell y'all this if you didn't watch. So the conversation I thought was going to be, and this was my expectation, and again, maybe this is why I was crying and shit, because I had placed my expectations too high. And ladies, we know what happens when you do that. when you have your expectations too high, you may get let down. So I thought, like I said, what the conversations was going to be grounded in. For the next 20 minutes, what the gentleman proceeded to do was discuss portions of FD Signifier's video. Now, this is my issue, I think, with the whole grounding and framing of this conversation. And when I talk, or when we generally talk about the way a counter to the manosphere narrative, how these conversations are framed and grounded, this one started off bad. It started off really poor, because the questions that were asked didn't pertain to manosphere specifically. FD Signifier was asked primarily about his recent video, and let me tell you why that is, in my opinion, insufficient framing. Okay, I don't know FD Signifier. His content also does not come up organically for me in my algorithm. I have never heard of FD Signifier prior to BPM. That's the only way I know of him and have any inkling of him or what it is that he does. So I think the baseline assumption from the EYL host that everybody knows who FD is and knows the basis of his work, and had even watched this video that was referenced to throughout the discussion, I think was a big no-no. I think that helped to derail even before it got out of the station. It helped to derail the conversation before we even got started, because I'm in the chat, or not in the chat, but I'm watching live in real time. Like, what? wait, what are we talking about? Derek, who? Wait, I thought we were talking about misogyny. We're not talking about what happened? The first 20 minutes, guys, the first 5 minutes, I think, it was very male centered. FD was asked questions about himself. How come he's not on the Breakfast Club? How come, what's going on? And in a weird way, he tried to blame Olay for burning down the spot before he ever got an opportunity, which, again, I'm not mad at the brother. I just thought that was interesting when we're trying to have a conversation about manosphere, which to me almost equals misogyny. And it was kind of an odd, not intentional. I didn't take it as malicious, but it was a dig at Olay. Like, well, yeah, I'd like to get on the Breakfast Club, but that sister was so sharp and cut niggas' throats. I don't know. I was like, okay. Okay. So it was a lot of male-centered conversation about about shit that I didn't think was germane to, I thought, the original spirit of the conversation was supposed to be. And then after that, Jared admittedly, said, well, let me ask a question about Dr. King and reparations before we get into the serious stuff. Okay. Again, another sort of male centered portion of his video, FD's video, that I had no clue, inkling, didn't know anything much about his video. So I'm watching. So now we're 5 minutes in. Now we're 10 minutes in. Now we're 15 minutes in, and we're still talking about Dr. King and reparations. And then, Will, do me a favor. Start me about 15 minutes from that spot where we are right now. I had time codes, by the way, everybody. I was listening and taking screenshots of my phone, except I had the stupid video description up. So when the video description is up, the time codes don't show. Of course, I was furious at myself here. But yeah, let's see where we are 15 minutes in here, Will.
That's, in fact, I think that's how me and Dr. Ball connected. My first Drake video a couple of years ago.
Wait, you're trying to say something about light skin and Ball and Drake?
Oh man, I got about biracial Jewish men with.
That's what you need to do. You gotta. That's what I'm saying. This is.
I never made that connection, Dr. Bob.
You got. Oh my God! I've been trying to make the distinction for years. For years, I've been people. Anyway, I could go on for days.
And I don't have a problem
to make that distinction
with this man banter.
Yeah. We all gathered here today.
Okay, here we go.
So, Brother FD put out this hit job. Is it a hit job? No, I don't know.
No, I don't. Because like it started out as something different, and then when I realized dude was still making content, it started becoming a hit job. But then as I started watching his content more, I was like,
so again, Will, hit pause for me.
That's not really mine.
So again, I don't know what the fuck these niggas is talking about. What y'all talking about? A hit job on who? Who is this person? I kind of had issue with the way the conversation was being guided, because again, for those who had no knowledge or awareness of FD Signifier, his platform, his content, the nature of his content, or even more specifically this video, I felt very lost in the sauce. And I felt as though like the conversation, or at least the intended spirit of the conversation, was being ignored. we weren't getting to the meat of the shit. Why not? Will, advance me about let's say another 4 to 5 minutes if we could. Look at Will.
And then as the social media companies became more and more prolific, then it became monetizable, that you could start bullshit just for the sake of making money.
Okay, here we go. Do me a favor. Back that up a couple of minutes.
And so
back that up like 2 minutes, like 2-3 minutes.
First, why this was such an effective trick bag to use. Are people adopting?
There we go. Back that up, because we kind of get into the gender wars.
And I'm mostly just pulling out things that can be transmutated into girl boss activity.
Will, you gotta back it up. You gotta back it up for me. Hold on. I need you to back that up like 3 minutes. Like 3 minutes. Because the first question after the question about Dr. King and reparations, that went on for a minute. And then and then the next question, I think, had to do with Black feminism. Go ahead, Will. Hit that play.
Different. And then when I realized dude was still making content, it started becoming a hit job. But then as I started watching his content more, I was like, I don't really want to. That's not really my thing right now. Is to just like blow a nigga up. Especially, you know, when I looked at him in context, it's not really him. It's the atmosphere that he's a part of. You know, it's one thing to say like, okay, you're a bad guy, but if you operate within a system that promotes your bad behavior, I think I'm doing a disservice if I don't spend a little more time engaging with that system versus you, if that makes sense.
Right. So I want to try to throw this first question in, and then everybody after you go first, but then everybody can chime in, the host or the Black Men Bill Brothers. But so one of the few things when you started talking about like what the manosphere and then feminism, you touched on a little bit, but from your standpoint, standing in your contradictions, what would you suggest that Black feminists focus on? And then maybe kind of talk about like what you think about like the personal empowerment that goes along with what people call feminism right now. So
Pause that for me if you could, Will.
your
Pause it
suggestion of
right
how
there. Pause it right
feminist-
there. So in the midst of my 5 stages of grief, I had transitioned from denial at this point because here we are 15, maybe almost 20 minutes in the conversation. The word misogyny hasn't even been brought up, not once, not a single, not once, not once. Which tells me a lot of things. It tells me that it's not really viewed as a problem. It's not really viewed as the lead off to a discussion about the manosphere and its innate misogyny and misogynoir. No, we have to talk about the mandem first. We got to talk about why this brother's not on the Breakfast Club. We got to talk about Dr. King and reparations. And now we got to talk about Black feminists. This is when I got mad. This is when I went from denial to anger because I couldn't believe like the question that I thought, again, the intended spirit of this discussion, of this conversation, to discuss how brothers sometimes stand within that power of the patriarchy. And believe me, the power of the patriarchy also involves not having to talk about misogyny, not having to talk about gender-based violence, not having to talk about the ways in which life, specifically as Black women, is hard and sometimes made harder by some brothers. I hate to have to put all these fucking caveats out because you know how much I hate that, but I'm gonna do it in the spirit of, you know, trying to be on the up and up here. So when the first question is about what these bitches doing, when I fucking tell you, I started to yell at my TV screen because I said, wow, I thought we were having a conversation about something else. And then it somehow comes back to what these bitches is doing wrong, right? What's the harm of Black feminism? I didn't even see the role. I didn't even see the purpose or the place that Black feminism was playing in this discussion. But again, in the spirit of fairness, because I did not watch FD's video, he must have talked about it, right? But again, trying to appeal to the broader audience whom everybody should assume maybe had not seen the video, maybe has not done the reading or whatever. You need to speak to a mass audience as though they are coming to the table with absolutely no clue, reference, or context for what is being discussed. So when the first question that comes out is about Black feminism, I said, it's over. like what's the conversation now? Like the conversation is immediately derailed. It's about these bitches now. You know what I'm saying? And then it started to come up. And again, and I'm that's me being somewhat hyperbolic, okay? Because let me not misrepresent what anybody said, but that was again how I took it, right? That was my perception. That's how I received that. Like this conversation it is it's not even being worth framed in a more serious way, because we got to talk about what the women are doing wrong that somehow what spawned the manosphere, spawned these reactions. And then FD goes on to talk about the monetization of the gender wars, which again I do take issue with the I call it a mischaracterization of the term gender war, because what's the war? Women are being slaughtered out here. Ain't no war. Women are fucking Palestinians and the men are Israelis. Like, what war are we talking about? What are we talking about? What's the gender war? Oh, because women get on and complain about, whatever the fuck the bougie women complain about. Okay, I keep telling y'all from my perspective, I don't get into feminist theory, praxis, the way I'm a survivalist. Okay, women, especially black women right now, are not surviving not only encounters with their partners, but not surviving encounters with strangers on the street. And because violence against women is so normalized, it's such an everyday part of our life. Like this, it's the shrugging of the shoulder. Anyway, let me calm down. Let's get back to the video, Will. So yeah, the question was asked about the feminist, and let me shout out to Josh Ingram. If you advance that maybe about 5 minutes, Will, let's see where we are about 5 minutes. Josh had the presence of mind to come back and attempt to reset the conversation, because I would imagine that y'all in the chat was giving some of the business. Like, hey, what the fuck we talking about black feminism for, y'all? I thought we was talking about the manosphere and the harmful role of the rhetoric of the manosphere. So, Will, yeah, let crank me up about 5 minutes, Chief, and let's hit play.
Things
See
that
where
get
we
said
at.
maybe in the comments or even as FD said. But if there's any thoughts, and I see brother Shaw was kind of acknowledging some of the stuff that FD was saying, but there's any other thoughts around that question or what was said in terms of feminism?
Yeah, just want to, as Josh said, just lift up the importance of feminism and Black feminism in this moment that we're in, and the importance of it as a wave of ideology that we must uptake and keep strong in our movements, because we got to do something different than what was done in the past in different ways, right? But your critique is real, FD, and I don't think that I don't think that we should feel shamed with calling this out, because this is a very, like, the critique is around a liberalism and a sort of co-optation and around the feminist thought that we actually want to take up, right? If you think about the Combahee River Collective, just that statement and what they said in their statement, this is very different than some of the ways that we see sort of mainstream feminism showing up, where you'll get a video of like a black woman. It was either a black woman or there was some ad that either the CIA or somebody put out. There was like a black woman or a Afro Latina getting into the halls of power in the CIA, and then like it's saying "Black Girl Magic," and people are cheering it on. Just this
Hold on,
idea that
pause
you
that
can
for me.
just
Pause that for me, Will, because here's the thing. What I don't want us to do is to conflate black bougie aspirationalism, with capitalistic stars in their eyes, getting the bag stars in their eyes. I do not want us to conflate that with specifically what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about black feminism in that perspective. Again, survivalism. Again, like to sort of demean, or not demean. Demean's not the right word. Let me say diminish. Let me say undermine, right? Like, I hear the conversations online. I see the goofy conversations amongst single black women of a certain class and status complaining about the lack of comparably classed, educated, men that are faithful and straight. I don't fucking know, right? But I'm not talking about that. Never have I ever. Fire fam, if there's anybody, and I'm not in the chat, by the way, if there's anybody in the fucking chat that is making any accusations of me doing that version of the quote gender wars, kindly correct these motherfuckers, because y'all know I don't engage with that shit. I don't give a fuck about $200 dates. I don't give a fuck if these about body count and all that other shit. That shit is noise to me. That shit is nonsense. Okay, when black women are being murdered out here, miss me with the dating discussion. Okay, like and also miss me with this, you know, class aspirationalist, you know, I'm a girl boss. That's never been my shtick. That's never been my rhetoric. And I'm not saying that any of these brothers said that about me specifically. But again, if this was the conversation I thought inspired by my challenge, this shit was way far away from that. So hold on, run me up about another 5 minutes, Will, because I do want to come back to that brother specifically. That brother said a couple things that I have some questions about, but let's run up about 5 minutes. We'll see where we at. My apologies in advance, guys, for not having this a little bit more cleaner with my time codes. You know, I was in grief. I was grieving today, so the order of my thoughts sort of also went off the rails. But yeah, where are we at here, Will?
Versus this multitude of other things that we're often shamed and told to reject, that in practice have a lot more potential for just developing better boys and better youth.
Yeah.
And I think you set the context properly. Oh, my bad. Yeah, go ahead. I just want to say, I think you set the
Right.
context properly in the video, or at least in a helpful way that takes us beyond all of this. You talk about the broader structural impact of all this. You talk a little bit about class and the impact that has on all of this as well. So I thought that was helpful. But yeah, sorry, whoever I cut off. Go ahead.
I was going to add, I
Josh,
think, yeah, the conceit of the video, like gender is a scam. It's economics. I think your video, and Geechee, to your question, we talk about how gender has to be performed, is that it's a result of our economic condition. That creates how we have to perform masculinity or femininity. And that is why when people statistically cannot achieve what is impossible for the majority to achieve, they experience psychological distress. And they have these issues with how they have to perform what they think they're supposed to perform. And I think, well, that's really interesting. If I'm to bring in like a Black trans feminist analysis, is that when people challenge like gender dysphoria as this medical condition.
I'm sorry. And again, that is, let me say this. It is no disrespect to the Black feminist perspective. I don't know enough about it and I'm not impacted by it. And I don't think it was wholly germane to what I thought the initial spirit of the conversation. And again, it was just another topic sort of away from addressing misogyny in our community and addressing the manosphere. And again, misogyny was a word that was barely uttered in an hour. It was wild. Advance me about 10 minutes, Will. Get me up because I'm trying to get to some specific comments here. And again, I fucked up my own time codes. And I appreciate you guys being here. Do me a favor, like, share the video, subscribe to the channel if you liking or dislike the shit too, by the way. It don't make me no, never mind. Do what you want to do. Engage however you feel like with the content. I hope my brother Will is able to keep up with the comments, etc., etc. So where we at, Will? Yeah. Let's stay with the video.
And attacked, and people in the comments now still calling him a simp. But he was in a bodyguard at a Christian church where a woman had a oral sex demon exercised from her. So even people who, like you said, gender patriarchy is not simply an ideology. There are so much. It's like racism. It's omnipresent.
Mm-hmm.
It is something that it's inescapable and that is embedded in your life. And if you don't properly engage it, you will become an asset of it unconsciously. It's far more than patriarchal men don't wake up and say, okay, time to, clock into the patriarchy. It's something that is passive,
mm-hmm.
that you could literally you have to consciously and deliberately attack and challenge and deconstruct in your own self every goddamn day. Like white folks have to do with racism. You know, you have to consciously be anti-racist, or because if you just lean to the default, then you're part of the problem. It's the same thing with men in patriarchy. If you're not consciously if you're not able, as I engage, I've been married for over 20 years, and I have to constantly, I came into that relationship sexist, patriarchal, and as I deconstruct it, it's daily work. It's not just, well, I don't have that ideology, therefore I don't believe in patriarchy. I've denounced patriarchy, therefore my job is done. You know, white people, I've never called a black person the N-word. I've never done a racism. Oh,
But
So real quick, let Asa jump in, and then if Jared got anything.
Pause that for me, Will. Can we put a cape on Diallo's back? Can we recognize a hero when we see one? Let me tell you something. There was not many bright spots in this conversation, okay? And but for some thoughtful questions from Diallo, pardon me, some thoughtful questions from Jared, some deliberate resetting from Josh, and some commentary just like that from Diallo, this whole segment would have just fell off a cliff, y'all. it would have. Instead of just crying sad tears, I would have sobbed. I would have been snotting. I didn't get to snot level. I did cry though. I did cry tears of sadness and resignation, but that right there was a spot of sunshine, because it was, thank you, a realistic statement that needed to be spoken aloud. Sometimes I think that people or brothers that consider themselves good brothers, they think those thoughts, but because, you know, they just assume it doesn't need to be said aloud. Of course I denounce patriarchy. Of course. No. You need to denounce it full-throatedly and with your chest, and you need to do the daily interrogation that it takes to figure out within yourself, in your daily actions, in your daily interactions with women, be them women you are related to, women you work with, women you see on the street, women you are interested in. How does patriarchy inform these engagements? And denying that it does is wrong. It's like the whites. When the whites say, "Oh, I don't see color," when men be like, "Oh, of course, of course I respect women." No, just like I don't believe the whites when they say that they don't see color. I absolutely do not believe white people. When men just say very casual, "Oh yeah, I respect women." No. That to me deserves a little bit more interrogation, and I appreciate Diallo putting it into the context of the way that white people need to deprogram themselves daily from racism. Men need to do the same constant unlearning and undoing and deprogramming of themselves, for mostly when it comes to patriarchy and misogyny, guys. Just because someone labels themselves, and this is not a shot at anybody, this is just a fucking real ass statement. Just because you say you're a revolutionary does not mean that you are not a misogynist. Okay, trust me, I was sired by a revolutionary organizer who hated women. Okay, so I don't have to imagine or speculate whether or not these two things can coexist at the same time. I've seen it with my own eyes, I've experienced it, I've lived it. Okay, and not just in that way, in other ways. But again, where should we go next? Scoop me up, because I said Diallo dropped the bar right there. Give that man a cape because he helped to save. he helped to save that train that fell off the rails. So run me up about 5 minutes. Will, let's see where we at right there, because like I said, there was a couple of things said here that I almost melted down when I heard them. But go ahead.
Soldiers and members that have some fucked up shit going on in their head that they haven't been able to really
okay,
deal
do me
with.
a favor, run me back
They're
about
valuable.
2 minutes. I want to start at the beginning, I think, of this brother's answer, because he gave two similar answers like this, where I think this was the gentleman from Black Man Build. Again, let me say this also, that I support any and all work that helps to heal our people, that helps to politically educate our people, that helps to organize our people. But if we're working with men specifically, and we're not addressing misogyny directly head on, I wonder then what are we what are we talking about? But I'll get to that. So like I said, he gave two such answers where he discussed the men's circles and the ways in which the men are able to come together and be vulnerable and share their feelings and share their experiences again, which I think is valuable. But I'm not sure if he says what I want to highlight here. But let's go ahead and hit play, Will.
Relationship. Another brother was ending a long-term relationship. Another brother was getting a divorce. So we were like, what the hell do we need in this moment to help us feel all right and continue to do this work? And we landed on men's circles. So we started running men's circles in Miami just to bring brothers together and have good conversations. And you know, it's been 4 years now, and we have brothers that have never stopped coming to those men's circles. They come every 2 weeks. We have new brothers that come in every 2 weeks, and we have conversations around what it means to be a man, what does legacy mean. We have some political conversations, but mainly our questions are around not what do you think about this thing that's happened, but how do you feel about it? And we've had brothers transform in a whole bunch of different ways. And of course, Black Men Build is a political organization. So from our men's circles, which is our chief sort of recruitment vehicle, we move brothers into political organization. So you've come to this men's circle X amount of times, come to this service event. You've come to this men's circle X amount of times, come to this PE session. And eventually we build trust with brothers to move them into political organization. But this healing and long-term work around patriarchy and challenging brothers in our men's circle is just a tough everyday thing, right? Because we do have some brothers that will come to a men's circle and never miss one and be challenged and are still just, you know, it's been 2 or 3 years, but them brothers won't let the shit go. But these are good brothers that will do service, you know, serve the people. They'll even come out for LGBTQ protests or LGBTQ sort of service initiatives, but they just won't let go that ideology, right? So it's been a struggle around how do we try to move brothers to a different ideology and get them to continue to challenge patriarchy, but how do we also not let go of our soldiers and members that have some fucked up shit going on in their head that they haven't been able to really deal with, but they're valuable and they shouldn't be lost and let go of. So I just say all that to say, man, men's circle is an everyday thing. And to agree with Diallo that it's a constant thing. But men's circles, I do think are chipping away at that. And I don't think it's going to, you know, get rid of everything. But I do think that every man should be a part of a men's circle in some sort of way to consistently challenge that shit that's in your mind.
Jared, do you want to share something? And I apologize for being a bad moderator.
But I also have a question too. So again, this is something that I did appreciate about FD's video, in that it did point to, because one of the notes I wrote that is that the real scam is class. And that the super left, as it's described, does have the answers. So when you were sort of, there's a passing moment where the super left is sort of mockingly, I don't know if you meant it that way or you were being sort of
I'm
sarcastic. Yeah, tongue in cheek. Right. But there are answers in that, because I do think that ideology is born of material conditions, so that without this right setting, none of this stuff is not happening. But I am curious about in these men's circles, to what extent is because this is what came up on the remix, you know, Kim was challenging us a little bit on, is how honest we are when men gather around our experience with as perpetrators or witnesses to male violence against women, and that for all that Tommy Curry's work notwithstanding, to the best I understand it at least, there is this, and FD makes the point in the video that if I remember correctly, that maybe you don't, where women may end up doing better in certain sectors of the economy, Black women than Black men, there is still the prevailing issue of Black male violence against Black women. as opposed to the opposite, and male violence in general against women. So I'm wondering, to what extent in these men's circles do men talk openly about being perpetrators of violence against women, or do they share suffering violence from women? And then how is that dealt with in these circles, both in terms of people confessing their own involvement in that or witnessing that behavior?
Great question.
Yeah, our men's circles get real deep, man. They get real deep in a lot of different ways. Only men can be there, and we make sure folks have a certain level of confidentiality where you take the lessons and leave the sort of content of the stuff that you heard, which is, yeah, I mean, I couldn't tell you how many times brothers in there are crying about things that they've done, or like brothers have dug deep around a challenge around somebody. And we've heard some really horrific things that people have done, and that they're trying to work through. And what we do is we usually hold that brother through that and continue to support him. And if he needs some real help, we do have resources around therapy and different things of that nature to help that
Pause
brother
it for
get
me. Pause
some
it for me
deeper
right there,
sort of.
Will. So when I heard that part of the discussion, it literally sent a chill down my spine. I think I shuddered. I think I actually had a physical reaction. Again, not to take away from the spirit, the intention, the well intentioned helping, healing goal of the men's circle. But when I hear a man say that other men have confessed doing, quote, horrific things, my mind goes a lot of places, okay? Because I know how hard it is sometimes for men to describe other men's behavior as horrific. So to hear another man describe other men's confessions as horrific, none of us need to lack imagination as to what all of that could entail. And when the brother says that, and after these brothers make these kinds of confessions or admissions, we hold that brother, we support him. Are we asking the brothers, are they still continuing to do this harm? While they're giving their confessions about their horrific things and they're weeping, crying about the people that they've harmed, are we checking on the people that they've harmed? Or are we just holding these harmful brothers while they weep? Because if we're not addressing the harm and trying to console the perpetrators and the instigators of this harm and violence, what are we doing? What are we doing? If the goal is to check on the community at large by trying to grasp and get a hold of our brothers and make them feel safe and make them available for healing and for vulnerability, where does the position of recompense or accountability come up? Or again, even checking on whether or not the people that they've admitted to harming, whether or not they are still in the process of being harmed. See, this is, I think, where our brothers have some blind spots, to use an apt phrase here. Because I don't know, ain't y'all used to game being run on y'all by dudes? Like, that don't sound like game to you? You've never had a man do something horrific and atrocious and then break down weeping in front of you, because that's, again, to make him the victim, to make you feel sorry for him, even though he's the villain, he's the monster. Like, niggas don't recognize when game is being run, but we're not going to check on the people that he's admitting to harming. That scared the shit out of me. And it was a perfect, crystal clear example in the ways that, again, we don't take violence against women seriously. We don't take misogyny seriously, because the focus is trying to assuage the feelings of the perpetrator, of the aggressor. We don't have to ask how men are able, or rather, again, when I say men, I mean the harmful brothers, and I'm not gonna make these caveats that much often because I hate doing it. But when we talk about how are these men able to continue to harm, continue to how did he have 3 victims, 5 victims, 50 victims for shit like that? Because they have people in the community that are willing to cover for them, to make it all right, to help get them help. What about their victims? Don't ask how people are able to do harm for long periods of time. You see it. And again, that's not to besmirch the spirit of the work of the organization. Again, I believe they mean well. But when you don't prioritize the safety of women or children in the community as a whole, you will end up providing cover and safe spaces for abusers, rapists, and harmful folks and predators. Run the video for me, Will, please.
Professional help around what he needs. But yeah, brothers disclose all types of shit in men's circle, man, especially if they've been coming for long enough. They disclose all of that, man.
Hold on, and
deeper than
pause it again for me. This is the other issue I think I had with that specific segment, is that my brothers did not name any of the horrific things, right? How in the world are we actually going to combat or confront the wide spectrum of abuse, for example? Because shout out to Zenzi Bell put the question to the Remix Morning Show the other morning. You know, we can't even define what abuse is. We think it's just when somebody show up with a black eye. No, there's a long spectrum and continuum of what abuse is. And when the brother is saying that, you know, brothers come in there and confess horrific things, he can't even name it, can't even be specific about it. And there was a really lack of specificity around the kind of political education. And again, I could go look the shit up very easily, you know what I'm saying? But I was hoping that, you know, since the brother was there presenting his organization, that he would kind of be a little bit more specific, especially considering that we're talking about issues surrounding patriarchy and how men and women deal and treat with each other, but more specifically how men treat women in the course of this conversation. And none of that was specific. I didn't hear how any of his political education or the political education of that organization helps to um deprogram men out of misogynist frames of minds. He did say, you know, that they do work with brothers, and it's hard to working with brothers who have these patriarchal attitudes and these anti-LGBTQ attitudes. But I would like to have heard more about what the specifics around that are. What are the entry points of conversation with those men? How do you, you know, what are you exactly trying to convey to them? Are you trying to, are we at the baseline of are women people? I would like to know, like, where's our starting point at when we're trying to deconstruct brothers and rescue them from the abyss of the patriarchy and the harmfulness of misogynistic and misogynoir thinking. Like, I don't know what our entry point is. So Will, do me a favor, drop the link-a-poo. Drop the link in the chat. And we'll let the folks them get on here. I'm trying to think, was there other points in the conversation that I took issue with? Just slights, not personal slights at all. But I think when the conversation regarding, it got brought up, the social media debate, the man versus bear debate, when women were asked, if walking alone in the woods, would you feel more or less safe encountering a man or a bear? And of course, women chose the bear, of course. And the manosphere felt some way about it, and they responded. And I think FD said something again. I'm not gonna hold it against the brother, but it did sound slighty because he said something about, well, the logic is, but the way he framed it, it was like, oh, of course it's illogical for women to think that they would be safer with a bear than a man, but it's the point of the conversation, the brothers. And I'm like, for one, it's not illogical. It's not illogical at all. And shout out to the women who are woods women and who gave numerous examples of encounters with both bears and strange men in the woods, and why they absolutely would have preferred to interact and engage with the bear in the woods than the strange random man in the woods, right? It's anyway. I'd be curious. I think, where are we at time wise? Where are we at here? Okay, we over an hour. We're at 8:04. All right, that's cool. I'm gonna open it up. I'm gonna open. And again, y'all may not even got nothing to say. But let me say this. So let me tell you. Okay, let me finish out my 5 stages of grief. Okay, so I was in denial that it took 20 minutes to even attempt to get to the conversation, because I'm like, this isn't happening. Like, we're actually not hitting 3 different topics before we get to the topic. I was in denial about that. I said, no, my brothers are not avoiding this. No, they're not avoiding it. I was in denial. And then when the question about Black feminism got asked, and then I got angry. then I got angry. Then I started bargaining, because I said, look, Diallo coming true to try to save him. You know what I'm saying? He gonna put everybody on his back and save the whole junk. So we bargaining. And then I got a little depressed. And then finally we came to acceptance. Let me tell you how I came to acceptance. What is it that I'm accepting? Well, through my tears, because I cried twice. The first time after the video wrapped, and again, I sat there for about 20 minutes. It was a little bit after noon. I said, okay, let me get rolling. I got to finish putting my show together. I want to talk about this and Trump and whatever the fuck. All right. And every time I tried to focus on getting my show together, I kept coming back to the conversation on EYL. I kept coming back to it. Like, I could not stop thinking about it. And then I called one of my friends and I was like, I'm really struggling trying to focus for thinking about this conversation. And my friend was trying to ask, what is it that you are so upset about? And what upset me, and let me just say this, be clear here. I thank the EYL bruvs. Because I believe wholeheartedly, honestly, sincerely, genuinely, you guys came to the conversation with good intentions. You did. You tried to answer the call and you tried to come to the conversation with good intentions. I will absolutely acknowledge and respect and be appreciative of the attempt. Okay. But when I listened to what we heard and the questions that were being asked and the lack of questions kind of that were being asked, and the way we didn't really get to the meat of what I thought the intended topic was, I cried because I realized that we are not getting free. Okay. Jared, Geechee, and Diallo are our best and our brightest. I say that sincerely, no sarcasm, with genuineness in my heart. No facetiousness, no sideways shit. I mean that. EYL is a compelling show because it's intelligent, it's thoughtful, it's thought-provoking, it's compelling. It plants seeds. I have ameliorated some of the positions on some issues, through listening to their debates and conversations and discussions. They are the best and the brightest. They really are. Okay. And if they can't have this conversation almost at all, I cried. I wept. I said, that's it. That's it. Like, and again, let me try to center. Let me be fair here. Because again, this is the first attempt, I think, at such a conversation. So let me acknowledge it as that perhaps this first attempt was clumsy. It was awkward. I hope, we will review and reset and try again and do better. So let me acknowledge that. But I was sad. I wasn't angry. I wasn't frustrated. I was depressed and sad. I said, because we can't even discuss misogyny. It's not even a priority. Like, we can't even bring it up. Does it even exist? Is it even worthy of discussion? Can we even name it? And when our best and our brightest can't, oh man. What's up, Will? You trying to say something? Okay, no. All right.
I was
Go
I was
ahead.
just gonna read the comments.
Okay, read some comments.
FD and Geechee in the chat.
Thank y'all for being here. Appreciate it.
Um yeah, it's a lot of feelings, a lot of different perspectives. Geechee definitely made the point. I could read some of the stuff. Geechee was basically saying, because I don't want to read everybody's comments, but he didn't know about the challenge. It was more or less about FD's video, and yeah, he didn't even know anything about the challenge, and it was like Jared was the only one on that. Two F's, Kim and Zenzi and Jackie on EYL next. Yep.
Freddie, always choosing violence. Why you want to choose violence, Freddie?
Yep. Not Zay said, I wish Kim was there to facilitate. Sugar Shan says some men don't take off the blinders unless it's something that happened to them or someone personally they love. Rails Pasta Sauce, I feel like the challenge just so happened to coincide with the timing of the challenge. It was not seemingly part of the original run based on the FD and Geechee's comments about knowing.
And
listen, I think FD2 commented, he said, we actually agree there. My whole point was that we can't logic that issue. Also, I did put the link in the chat. So
I appreciate it. Well, and thank you everybody for your comments. Thank you, Geechee.
Oh, Franny's up too.
Oh, Franny's up. Okay, hold Franny for 1 second. Let me just make this point real quick. Thank you. I appreciate y'all watching. I appreciate y'all's comments. And again, everybody wasn't aware of the parameters of the assignment, and I will take everybody at their word about that. So that's fine. One other thing that was brought up in the segment that I just wanted to highlight here for a minute, and Will, get that TMZ video queued up for me if you could, because all of this originally spiraled out of the conversations surrounding Diddy and how we can sort of zoom in on how there are harmful individuals from in all walks of life, from all socioeconomic backgrounds. Diddy is the extreme end of wealth, status, privilege. Well, I guess as extreme as he can be as a black man in America, but still, we're looking at the extreme end of what this abuse can look like when we're talking about Diddy, and then how this looks very much at a regular ass normal working people, poor people level, with rates of abuse, especially intimate partner violence, gender-based violence, being sincere and being not sincere, but being a sincerely serious issue. So so when I express grief grief at seemingly the challenges that our brothers face when even trying to broach these conversations, when even attempting to have these conversations, you guys know my guilty viewing pleasure is TMZ Live, okay? And there's been rightful legitimate critique about why are we celebrity chasing in order to have discussions around these conversations. I think that's legitimate, but what the celebrity discussion elicits from our regular people can be very revealing and very telling, and it demonstrates who we need to reach and why. So on TMZ Live, they get the pulse of the quote regular person. They have regular people Skype in and give their perspectives of the day's daily story. And on this particular day, they were talking about Diddy, and I can't remember, was it the alleged convening of a grand jury or some fucking thing? I don't know. So they asked this dude. So they came, all right, what do you think about this? And this is the dude that they came to. And just a disclaimer, I shot this on my phone. This is not, it's not a YouTube link. I had to shoot this on my phone and upload the clip and send it to Will because I don't think I couldn't find it online. But this guy's comment, I think, is exactly why we need to be having these conversations in the open a lot more frequently and a lot more directly, because it is a lot of people's lived experiences. And let me stop prefacing. We'll go ahead and play the video.
Okay, what else do you guys want to talk about? Hey guys, Stephen Daniels, Kokomo, Indiana, about P. Diddy. It's unfortunate for all parties that's involved, but we need to reserve judgment until all the facts come out. What's unfortunate is that every time I turn around, someone is indicting our black celebrities, and black Twitter is going ham on it, man. You know, we need to sit back and chill. Let's not applaud them taking away our black celebrities. I'm so sick of it. I hear you, but I think part of the reason people are the Cassie video, I mean, that had to have an impact on you, right? Yeah, that happens though. That happens in life, man. Like, don't act like people ain't put their hands on a woman before. It happens in life, man. You know what I'm saying? We just can't say that this dude is an international pimp when he's a star and a music mogul, man. Let's not say that he's out pimping women now. This is crazy. They're trying to assassinate his character. Not only that, they're trying to take him down and put him in prison. Every year there's another black celebrity is going down by the hands of the federal people. And I'm just sick of it. He had my support until he gets proven guilty. You know, happens. All right. Wow. That is okay. Honestly.
Ooh. Now, guys, I'm not playing that video. That, to me, does this man represent most men's opinions when they're talking about the situation with Diddy and Cassie? No, I don't think so. I don't think it represents most men, but I know that dude. I probably know about 3 or 4 of them dudes, to be honest. And if we're honest with ourselves, those who are in community with black folks, yeah, you might know a few of them dudes. And to be clear, I don't mean I know him today. I mean, have I known men with that attitude over my lifetime at Big 45? You goddamn right. Okay. And that man also at his big age in the year 2024, when asked, weren't you moved by the violent video of Diddy kicking and beating Cassie? My man didn't blink. He said, that's life. Shit happens. That's life. Who amongst us has not had to put hands on their old lady? That is not an uncommon sentiment. And unfortunately, if that is how that brother was willing to speak on national television, oh, imagine being his child's mother. Imagine being his girlfriend. Imagine being his wife. Shit happens. Hey, who amongst us haven't had to put hands on their old lady? Let's go to the phones. Will, I heard my girl 2Fs is in the motherfucking building. Franny Francais.
Also, FD and FD himself, shout out. And Vesper X too. They in the chat, ready to go.
Okay, well, who's first? My man.
All right.
Who's first? Am I? Oh my God, am I on?
Oh, it's Franny Francais.
Stop it. Hi.
How beautiful.
Hi, you're beautiful.
You're beautiful. No, you're beautiful.
We both are. Hey, so great to see you. I was away for a bit, but now I'm back.
We have missed you, by the way. You've been missed.
It was all good, but a long story. Just a lot of traveling, different relatives and friends, and you know, you just don't have your regular things that you do when you're traveling. And so now I'm back home and I'm here. Yay! And I miss you too.
Well, I appreciate you, Franny. So let me get your comments since we got some folks lined up. So tell me what's going on.
I wrote them down because sometimes I forget. So
Because you're a stoner. Duh.
Yeah.
Of course.
Actually, I'm a little stoned right now, which I hesitated to call in, but fuck it. Let's just burn it down, Kimbra. And I'm having a
Please.
little wine too because it's Friday, just a little in this tiny little glass somebody left on my porch when I was gone. I'm like, who gave me that glass?
Sweet.
Nobody's fessing up. All right, Diallo gets the trophy for gynocentricist or whatever. And you, because for making the point for me, the basic point, you can't know unless you work to know, unless you work to unknow, you know? So that was a great point he made. I relate to that. And you're always on point. That's my second bullet. And my third bullet, it burns my biscuit to hear the women do it too trope. When you're talking about this fundamental issue, when you bring it up and then it gets derailed, and I hate that shit. So that's it.
Thank you, Franny. You've reminded me of a point that I also wanted to make. So I agree with Diallo like 90% of the time, right? And he did have a 10% disagreement moment for me in the video when he talked about scapegoating. And maybe I need a little bit more clarification of what he meant. But how I heard it was, you know, when we do this scapegoating, and I took it to mean, you know, women scapegoat men is, you know, being dangerous or whatever. Like, I don't think it's scapegoating if it's true, right? Like, so when we condemn the United States for being the world's leading terrorist state, you know, state sponsor of terror, when we as people on the so-called left say that, like, are we scapegoating the US? How come we're not talking about Australia and the global terror?
Well,
You understand what I'm saying? Like,
yeah, I
yes.
guess I took it a different way, actually. I
Ooh,
thought
do
he was
tell.
saying that, and I wanted to hear more about it. And he touched on it again, but not really. But I thought what he was saying was that women are scapegoated. That's what I thought I heard. But, you know, I was doing something else. It was the morning. It's Friday. I was like, I don't know, flossing. I mean, I wasn't 100% there.
Franny, you get up mad early to support BPM content, and we
I
love
do.
you for that.
Sometimes I'm doing yoga and I'll be doing like downward dog. And I'm like, okay, wait, I have to come out to like, I don't know, just, yeah.
That's impressive because I could
A lot
never.
to say. All right. Well, I'm so glad to see you. And I'm sorry you cried. And I wanted to say that too, because
Oh, thank you, Franny.
know,
And they were sincere tears. They weren't like
I get it.
it was I mean, the only word I can use to describe it was heart. I was heart. My heart was literally broken. I was
Yeah.
sad. I was very sad. So I appreciate. Thank you for saying that. I appreciate that.
All right, Kim. Well, love you. I just
Love you.
lost my voice when I said love you. Because why? Because I'm being vulnerable. No, I do love you. All right.
Thank you, Franny,
See
for all
you
you
again.
do.
See you
Thank you.
again.
Thank
How
you,
do-
baby. We'll take you off, baby. Thank you for all your support, Franny. Appreciate you calling in. I know we've got folks lined up, so we'll and I appreciate Franny saying that she interpreted what Diallo said differently. So again, I mean, shit could be left up to interpretation, misinterpretation again. And I'm here for correction. If I'm never here to misrepresent anybody in order to score fucking points. Blah, blah, I got these niggas. Blah. Like, that's not me. If I got the shit wrong, you can tell me and I'll receive it, you know. Contrary to what people think, I'm reasonable out this motherfucker. I just cuss a lot, and I'm not here for nobody's shit. I'm not here for man shit. I'm not here for white folk shit. And that's it. And I guess that's being difficult. That's how you be difficult anyway. Who's next, Will? Run them up.
Hey,
Peace.
do you hear me okay?
Yes. Is that FD?
Yeah, and I'm in my bedroom now because I had to move studio stuff, but I'm here.
Welcome. Thank you so much. I appreciate you making the time.
No problem. Thank you. So first, I guess I want to apologize. I've only been checking in and out on the live for like the past hour or so. And when a couple things I heard, I was like, I need to come in and at least talk about it and clarify some things.
And you're welcome to. Thank you for even wanting to clear something up. So I appreciate.
Yeah. I guess the main thing, I think Geechee. One thing I just heard before I signed on was Geechee was also in the chat, and he pointed out that I think, at least for me, speaking for myself, I didn't have the full understanding of the framing of the conversation going in. I thought we was kind of talking about the gender wars in my video, which is really not, if I wanted to present like a conversation about misogyny and misogynoir, that wouldn't have been the thing. I was like, yeah, that's the starting point. Although it does work for some aspects, at least of the conversation we had, considering the framing that you had in mind, I can see why you might have shed a tear. I even text Dr. Ball, I was like, having a better understanding of the framing after the fact, considering that Geechee started me with the what do you think about black feminism question, I was like, ooh, that's an L right out the gate. That is not how I want to start.
I said he trying to set this man up for
yeah, I was like, let me
here.
make sure I'm just speaking to what I said in the video because I stand by it, but it wasn't really appropriate for what you were getting at. You know what I'm saying?
I know, I feel you. Yes.
Yeah. So it's two things I want to clarify. The first was about Olay, who, you know, I definitely wasn't trying to throw shade at Olay. I was actually trying to praise her in that she's done a really good and I would say important job of using her access to these mainstream platforms and resources and funneling it down the line to more and more radical or at least subversive and non-palatable to the status quo voices. And I was afraid, not because of anything she did wrong, but because of how the system and the powers that be work, that someone above Charlemagne's pay grade will be like, we can't let that happen again on our airtime. It wasn't at all trying to be like she did something wrong. I think she did exactly what she was supposed to do. And I actually pointed out, I could never have that type of performance because I don't have that type of quick wit the way she had it. So I wanted to make sure that was clear. And with the man bear thing, I think we agree. When I was saying logic, like, I don't know if I put up the air quotes, but I definitely was putting that in air quotes. That's why I made the comment about Ben Shapiro, because it's like people, one thing that I think happens, I said something along this lines, is that when women, especially here, black women, come to black men to discuss the ways they're being harmed or the ways they've experienced harm, almost reflexively, because of patriarchy, et cetera, dudes want to put that into a logic practice, a logic bubble. Well, does it make sense that this happened, but not this? You know, what was the context? What were you Well, if you think about it, the bear has, you know, all these different things about his teeth and hunting and babies. And I was trying to say, I said it right after, the whole point of that conversation is that women are expressing to us that they don't feel safe, around men. And we can't get mad at them for how this hypothetical pours out. The message of the hypothetical is that women do not feel safe. I don't care how logical or illogical you think it is. That's not actually the point. And if you miss that point, to add on to that, to shout out to my boy, oh man, I'm gonna mess up his name. He's in one of my videos, but I got this from him off TikTok. He basically said, if you're debating with women why a bear is actually more safe than a man, what you're doing is identifying yourself as the type of dude that's actually not safe to be around, because you're failing to recognize the actual point of the question. So I wanted to make sure that was cleared up specifically. But I also wanted to offer you maybe to have this conversation again, specifically between me and you on my platform, on the podcast that I do, just so I can get it straight from the horse's mouth, because I know it started with Diddy, but I don't know the full, you know, because I was in and out, I don't know the full context. And I like to hear more of it, but I don't want to take up all the time for other people that called in, and B, I don't want to, and I don't have the time in the moment.
So I appreciate that, FD. I honestly, I do appreciate you even bothering to call up here and offer some clarification. And to your point, the points that you made clear are now clearer. And I thank you very much for doing that. I had just had this conversation with my audience, I think it was last week, because I talk about issues of DV a lot. I talk about abuse, and I even try to be fair and balanced. I talk about when women themselves are the abusers, when women themselves harm not only children but harm men in their intimate partner spaces. But when we're talking about the proportionality of it, it's not even close, right? Yeah, we can talk about how women do harm men sometimes, but men are not only harming women, but they're harming each other, right? And so this is what I want to talk about, the issue of male violence, not even solely in the context of man versus woman, but man versus everybody. Because in the interest of even self-preservation, I don't see men kind of engaging in these conversations about male violence, even as it pertains to men being themselves the victim, which, you know, our brother Diallo has acknowledged, but I don't hear, like, I guess y'all not worried about it. Like, I don't,
to worry about it, that's kind of, I'm sorry to cut you off. Like, to worry about it is unmanly. You know what I mean?
Oh shit.
Like, that's the fucked up trick bag that's in. It's like, you're not supposed to complain about possibly being the victim of violence. You a man, you supposed to be ready to get down in all the you know, all the isms and you know, catchphrases that we often have that a lot of black men tell themselves as I think I love that that term survivalist. I'm gonna definitely like get you to break that down for me when we talk for a longer time, because I think that's a dope way to like crystallize the difference. Well, I don't want to say difference, but like to crystallize the way that a lot of men try to detract from feminism and whatever else. And it's like, no, y'all are pulling in all this extra shit. Black women are trying to survive, and on a lot of levels, they trying to survive us. And if you can't appreciate that, we got so much further to go in that conversation. So yeah.
Wow, thank you. Oh my God, I feel heard. Thank you so much for that, FD. I appreciate you taking the time to call. I'm gonna get to some of our other callers. Can I reach out to Jared? And thank you. Can I reach out to Jared in terms of how to reach you?
Yeah, just send an email. It ain't nothing. I'm not nearly as big and complex as you think. I'm a dude. I'm in my bedroom or my closet half the time. Peace and blessings.
Thank you so much. Blessings to you as well. Appreciate that. Shout out to FD Signifier. I appreciate him making the time to not only listen, but to call and offer some clarity to his comments. And again, you guys, I'm not some ogre. I'm not, and I know I'm not even accused of being an ogre, not by anybody watching here, but you know, I got my fans over there in the BPM chat, right? You know, that's swear to God, I'm a fucking misandrist, and I just want to drown every man that ever walked the earth. No, I actually love you hoes, believe it or not. You know, I do. I want the best for you hoes. I do. But I just need you hoes to stop killing us. That's it. Y'all can even be hoes. Be all the hoes that y'all want to be. I support. I'm pro ho. Ho as much as you want to. Kill and beat way less. Can we do that? Thank you so much. Who do we have next on deck, Brother Will?
Hey, Kim.
Who is that? My
Hey.
baby boo boo?
Hey, it's Vesper.
Oh, my baby boo boo. That's what I said.
No, I appreciate that. Yeah, everything you just said had me cracking up, and I'm glad FD came on. Like, I'm glad he claimed. Yeah, but yeah, I'm glad you started this conversation, because when I was watching it on BPN, I'm like, I'm glad that it kind of derailed that whole show, but at the same time, it opened up this conversation that needs to be had. So thank you. Because like FD, I mean, that is true though. Like, a lot of men don't want to talk about it because it's unmanly. But we need to have these kind of conversations, because without us reconcile, I mean, because this goes beyond race, this goes beyond gender. I mean, it's the society as a whole, the patriarchy as a whole, that, and I think that's, you know, I watched FD's video, and that was really, a lot of what he was saying was focused on men and women in a black relationship, but it applied to my relationship, and I'm, you know, with a guy. You know, like there are some patriarchy going on in gay relationships too, that a lot of people don't realize. And there is violence in gay relationships because there's two men, you know, and we don't even talk about that. Like, we can't even open up the conversation to talk about the most common, like what you're talking about, right? You know, men being violent to women. And we need to have this conversation. So I just wanted to come on and thank you for opening up this dialogue, because all that was once in the dark is coming to the light, and we need to start cleaning that shit up. So thank you.
Thank you, Vesper. And Vesper, to your point, to the point that you raised, and I appreciate you raising that, because even those that are not in the LGBTQ community, I have an interest in the way that intimate partner violence presents itself in that community, and what those same-sex dynamics, or even the polyamory maybe in the relationships, like how does IPV feature in those relationships, in what way? I just as a
I mean,
so
I've
I
seen it.
know.
I've seen it on all sides. I've seen, a friend of mine, a lesbian friend of mine,
Mhm.
and in a same-sex relationship with another woman. They were always fighting. And the thing is, she always took the masculine role because she was the dom, and she would always, just try to pin her down and not lay hands on her, until finally she realized we're both women. Like, so then they both were just in fisticuffs all the fucking time before they broke up. So I've seen it on both sides, and I've been in intimate relationships with guys that put hands on me,
Mm.
and even when you were talking about it on BPM, one point that kind of got lost, but it was brought up, and I'm glad you brought it up. No one else brought it up but you, which is that if women are putting hands on men, that's a big red line that you never cross. And it's the same thing. It's like, just because it's two women or two men, if anybody puts hands on anybody, that relationship is done.
Should
It's
be.
done, because there is no love there. And it happens. And the patriarchy affects all of us. Even in gay relationships, there's always one person that takes the masculine role and one that takes the feminine role. And then how that plays out into the relationship, and how it plays out into the relationship dynamic. And, it makes the whole idea of a 50-50 split completely complicated, because now you're expecting one person to take on the more feminine roles of, being that the housekeeper, or the more masculine roles of being the breadwinner, when none of that applies. I don't think honestly, this whole conversation goes back to, like, none of this applies to any of us, because we are living in a world where that no longer, it never really worked for anyone, but it really doesn't work in this day and age. It's like we can't have these dynamics of that are, what was it that somebody said? It was a kid that said something, and I saw it was a mother talking about her kid say something. It's like, all tradition is peer pressure from dead people. So a
Listen,
lot of what we're
that's a
dealing with is
word.
that.
That's a word. That's a word, Vesper, because a lot of people view so-called traditional gender roles, especially as it presents like in hetero dynamics. I mean, they're kind of they're regressive, right? Like
Exactly.
it doesn't it's not advancing people's condition, first of all, and I mean, it helps to uphold old uh gender stereotypes about woman's work and man's work,
Exactly.
and it renders people, sort of helpless in a way where you have, I don't
It's
fucking
another divide and conquer tactic.
it is, and it's dumb, and we need to,
It
like,
really is.
we have to get off that. But I need to man them to get off us, and
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 each other.
and each other. Jesus God, gentlemen, if we don't get a hold of the men and the boys for no other reasons than your self-preservation, aren't you scared?
Yep.
Aren't you
And you're
afraid of what some random man is going to do to you on the street? Don't you think we need to get a hold of that? Please and thank you.
I personally would feel safer running into a bear in the middle of the woods
Nigga, what?
than running into a random strange guy.
He tell you. Let me tell you, I'm gonna tell you this story real quick and I'm gonna let you go. So, 2 years in a row, 2 springs in a row, there have been bear sightings near where I live. I live 1 mile from Washington, D.C. Okay. There has been a bear 1 mile from where I live, and then 1 mile going into the city. Okay. Bear
Mhm.
in DC, a bear, a whole ass fucking bear. Okay. The park that I would go to by myself. One time I was there with my ex-partner, who I was like jogging and he was a distance behind me walking, and it's near a wooded area but near a path. So I jog and I'm going on my way. He said he sees this man come out of the woods and start to follow me. But the man turned around, saw him, and then went back in the woods. Now, let me tell you something, Vesper. Now, do you think I stood a better chance versus that random man coming out the fucking woods to follow me, or the bear? Where if I stamp my foot at the bear and say, "Get the fuck out of here, bear," rah, that nigga gonna roll out. Vesper.
I think if you would have passed by the bear would have just looked at you and kept on going. More than likely.
It'd have been I choose the bear every
I choose
time.
the bear too. Yeah, but I love you, Kim. Thank you for doing this. I appreciate it.
Vesper, thank you so much for watching and supporting and doing all that you do. Thank you for calling tonight, Vesper. Love you so much. Love you, baby. Love you, love you. Thank you guys so much for your comments and calling, and I guess this is calling, whatever you do on YouTube, you clicking and shit, singing and logging in. I don't know what you do. So thank you all for doing that. It's Burn It Down with Kim Brown. We're here every Tuesday and Friday, 7 p.m. Eastern. Like the video. I like to get over 100 likes if possible. I have no idea how many people are watching right now because I'm not in the chat at all.
We got over 200 people watching collectively, but
that's because
we don't got
y'all
a lot of
messy.
likes though.
That's because y'all messy. You know why? Because them niggas messy. That's because y'all messy out here. Y'all call see.
At
Here's
least
the
like
thing.
the mess.
That's what I'm saying. But
Hit that like button, y'all.
Hey, just like they do my brothers on EYL, niggas be hate watching. Like niggas be hate watching. That's fine. Just be honest about the shit. And that's cool. I don't mind y'all hate watching. But be honest that y'all tuned in for the mess because y'all thought it was gonna be mess. But what y'all didn't know, haha, jokes on y'all, is that I hit Jared up in advance. And I told Jared, I said, I'm gonna be talking about EYL tonight. Why? Because over at BPM, you guys know that we are transitioning into a workers co-op collective, whatever that is. it's something good, whatever it is, right? So, I mean, and we're having these discussions behind closed doors about how to engage with your comrades within the collective in a principled way. I feel as though I have been very principled here. I'm not besmirching shit. I love EYL. I watched shit out of EYL. That's why I cried. that's why I cried tears of sadness because my feelings was hurt by the way the conversation went. So this is a critique born not only out of love, but a desire to help and to do what I can to add my voice to help spur, I hope, the conversation in a more productive direction, but in a direction. Can we get this motherfucker off the ground in some way? So I again, I don't think anyone is accusing me of being unprincipled or being fucked up, but I know y'all tuned in for the mess because y'all thought I was just gonna go in on the brubs in a reckless way. And no, that was not my intent at all. I think part of what I believe Brother Jared has even said this, it's important for us to try to engage BPM's content outside of BPM's platform. So to add it to the echo chamber of conversation. So the conversation that was on BPM was on FD Signifier. It's over here as well. So that is our job to help circulate these discussions and these conversations and maybe advance them in some way. Do we have anybody else on the horn there, Brother Will?
Yeah, we had Afra and we had we had her. She not here. Spiral too. Oh my bad.
So who's next, my brother? Is it Afra? Hello?
Oh, I did not realize I was on.
I know
Hi.
because Will is mean and he just over here pushing buttons. Hello.
Hi, this is my first time actually joining this particular video, so it's nice to see you. I appreciate everything that you've
What's
been
your
saying.
name, baby? What's your name?
My real name is Ito.
Eton?
Ito, it's spelled ITO.
Oh, Ito. What's up, Ito? Thank you so much.
Hi. I just wanted to comment on the particular thing with the what did they call it? The men's circles. I really appreciate the concept, and whenever I move to a city where they are, I definitely intend to join. But as I've said in other places, including the BPM Discord, we have a particular style of politics in this country, and I think in most capitalist countries in the world, where we do politics as a collection of individuals that come together in order to enact whatever policy. And I got the feeling that the men's circles were approaching it from a similar standpoint, rather than looking at it as changing relations within the community. That these men that are coming in are embedded in all kinds of relationships. And what is needed is actually changing those relations. That should be part of the core work. So the idea of having these men's circles that are kind of divided from the rest of the community, particularly the women in the community, is a problem. Yes, the men should get together and talk about things. That is necessary. But there needs to be a complement that can inform what it is that the men do to moderate some of the potentially worst impulses, and do that work you were talking about checking on the victims of the various things that some of the men may have confessed. When you have the men's circles being isolated from the rest of the community in that way, it's easy for it to become something that is under a shroud of silence that does not get worked on from there. I hope that was clear. I'm not sure that came across well.
Ito, it came out very clear. May I ask you a follow-up?
Yes, ma'am.
So I don't disagree with the concept of men-only spaces where they can be themselves amongst themselves and share their feelings and whatever it is that they do. That's fine. I don't have an issue with that. But when there are admissions of harm being done, is the community better served by keeping these men's confidence, or to try to follow up on what was admitted to see if other people are still in danger? Maybe I'm not even framing that right, but can you try to answer that?
I
Maybe
think
as
I
badly as
understood your question. In fact, I had the same tension when I was listening to you talk about it, wondering between the two. I think for me, it is following up in the community is more important to me than keeping the confidence. But it is also important that the way that such circles are constructed is understood as work to transform the community. That the transformation of the men is part and parcel of the transformation of the community. And that means healing and repairing any untold harm that has been done by members of the community in order to make it whole once again. We have responsibilities to our communities that have to be taken care of. So yes, there does need to be some level of confidence, but it should be understood by all the people who join that our first priority is the transformation of our communities. And if we hear that harm is being done in some way, this circle is going to intervene in that harm. This circle is going to take on the work of healing both the individual man and the wider community, because we are the relations that we have. There's no separation between the two. So the idea of trying to heal the man without healing the community around him, without healing the intimate partner that he's harmed, is a flawed model of what healing is.
I appreciate that insight, and I think you're right. I appreciate you calling, Ito. Ito, you're a viewer of BPM?
Yes, ma'am.
That's so beautiful. Are you calling us stateside? Or are you calling us from the continent where you? I mean, not to be all in your business. You ain't got to give me your latitude and longitude. You could just say you stateside or you not stateside.
No, I'm in the United States, but I was born in Nigeria, and so I grew up with this accent. Although I can switch to a more American sounding accent if I want, but
No, we like
try
the
to
Naija accent. Yes.
I try to
Yes.
stay with my natural accent as much as I can.
So really quick, one of my favorite podcasters is Kelechi Okafor. She's a British Niger babe. And she loves being Nigerian. She's very proud to be Nigerian, but she has a lot of smoke for the Nigerian mandem. So I just encourage you, maybe go check out some of her content and just think about or just I just be curious your thoughts about what you may think about her. But I love Kelechi. But that's it.
Okay, I'll check into it. Thank you.
Thank you, Ito. Appreciate that. Thank you so much for your comment. I appreciate, guys. You guys are coming in with wonderful, thoughtful comments. I appreciate the tone and the discourse. I also appreciate you guys understanding that this is not in any way adversarial or combative with the brothers from EYL. Like, my intention here is all in good faith and good spirit, on the up and up. Nothing here is personal, but y'all made me cry. That's it. That's it. And now you must answer for it. Now you will answer. Will, we got anybody else? Will just
It was Afro.
Is it Afra? She here?
Yeah.
Afra, can you hear us?
Oh, it's me. Hey, y'all.
Oh Lord,
I was-
Afra's out in the world trying to have a
I
conversation.
was trying. I was not in the street for like 30 minutes, but I had to go. I'm helping somebody with an organizing event. But I just wanted to say,
Lord, this child is out in the world, trying to talk to us, out in the world, getting beeped at.
I mean, I had to wait. I had to come on because you and I still haven't, like I said, we still haven't got a chance to debrief about the stuff that happened a couple of times on EYL, and so I did not watch it. I've actually stopped watching on Fridays just because it was not good for my mental health. Because every time I would come in, I couldn't always come in for the full 3-4 hours that they're on, but I come in on 8:30 or 9 o'clock or something. And at some point, there was some discussion about something that was a women's issue at some point, and there was no women. And the tone of things, I was just like, So one of the times I came on, I said something about it, and there was an issue that happened that, basically like they didn't like something I said, and it just went left, and I got cut out of the out of the chat, and it was like, just the jokes and whatever, and the man thing. So the fact what you were talking about today, that you felt disappointed or whatever, because if we're not talking about things that are centered around women, often that could easily be not checked, what I'm saying, like not checked, like you don't see that because you're agreeing on most of the points that you're talking about. But when you get into things that are specific about men and women, that's where we often have these issues. And what I find that probably could be related similarly is that when it's about me and mine, there's always an understanding. If it's my spouse, my child, my sibling, my something that's directly related to me. If you're somebody that thinks, if you're a male that thinks in a protective way, it often is to that, but it doesn't always translate to everyone else in the community. So when you were talking about having these feelings of like, okay, they're trying to hold everyone, and like they're trying to embrace that brother that shared these horrific things, they would not have those same responses when those horrific things are somebody in me and mine. But if it's outside of that circle, it's like, oh, okay, we understand, we feel you. And so that's where the part where you're talking about, okay, well, what are we doing? Okay, thank you for opening and sharing, but where's the restorative measure? Where's the corrective? Where are the measures you said are about protecting the community? And where's the, where's even the acknowledgement? So just having the acknowledgement that yes, there's patriarchal issues, and we have, recognizing the privilege of male privilege or whatever, like that's a basic thing, like you said, but going beyond that and checking yourself constantly and checking others, that's definitely the issue. And it's not, it's not something that we're devoid of in